One arrogant pilot, one calm black woman. What began as a quiet insult on the tarmac ended with a lesson he'd never forget. It was early afternoon, the kind of golden hour when sunlight spilled through the airport's glass walls, painting long streaks across the polished floor. The air carried a faint mix of jet fuel, espresso, and anticipation, the scent of departures and new beginnings. Announcements echoed overhead, crisp yet distant, blending with the steady hum of rolling suitcases and hurried footsteps. Amid the chaos, Dr. Maya Ellison moved with quiet composure. Her navy suit, perfectly pressed, caught the light as she walked. Not hurried, not hesitant, simply steady. A slim leather briefcase swung gently at her side, and though her ID badge hung discreetly against her jacket, only her name was visible. She paused for a moment near the glass, watching a plane lift into the cloudless sky. Her expression was unreadable, calm, thoughtful, yet layered with something deeper, something the casual observer might miss. There was a grace in the way she navigated the terminal, deliberate, unshaken by the surrounding rush. People brushed past without noticing her, but there was an aura about her presence, subtle yet commanding, like quiet authority wrapped in patience. Maya exhaled softly. Another flight, another mission, another test of composure. Maya approached the small gate tucked away at the far end of the terminal, quieter than the others, reserved for government and charter flights. The hum of the main airport faded here, replaced by the low murmur of staff conversations and the occasional crackle of a radio. Behind the counter stood Captain Reynolds, a tall man with sun-weathered skin and the easy arrogance of someone used to being in control. He leaned against the counter, laughing at something the attendant said, his pilot's uniform crisp, his confidence louder than his words. When Maya stopped before him, her briefcase clasped neatly in both hands, his eyes flicked to her, then away. "Ma'am, this flight's for FAA personnel only," he said, tone clipped, polite on the surface, dismissive underneath. He didn't glance at her ticket, didn't ask her name. "I'm aware," she replied softly, her voice even, her smile steady. He sighed, impatience curling in the corners of his mouth. "Then you might want to check the main terminal. This isn't the gate you're looking for." The attendant shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting between them. She knew who Maya was, and what this mistake would cost. Maya said nothing. She simply stepped aside, her silence sharper than any retort, her dignity intact. Maya stood quietly beside the counter, her calm presence a stark contrast to the pilot's casual arrogance. The faint hum of air conditioning filled the silence that followed his dismissal. Without a trace of irritation, she reached into her briefcase and retrieved her phone. Every movement measured, graceful, deliberate. She spoke softly, her tone professional and composed. "Tell Captain Reynolds I'll be joining him in the cabin after all. We'll discuss the new protocol once we're airborne." Her words were calm, but they carried weight, the kind that traveled farther than volume ever could. The attendant froze mid-gesture, her color draining as realization dawned. She quickly excused herself, whispering into her radio. Across the gate, Captain Reynolds caught the exchange. His smirk faltered as the attendant's quiet words reached him. He straightened, his casual stance stiffening into formality. For the first time, he truly looked at Maya, really looked. The sharpness of her eyes, the poise in her bearing, the quiet confidence that seemed to fill the space around her. There was no anger in her expression, only calm authority wrapped in grace. A faint chill crept down his spine. Whoever she wasn't just another passenger. Inside the sleek cabin of the government jet, silence hung heavy, thicker than the hum of the engines beneath them. The air smelled faintly of polished leather and fuel, yet tension was the dominant scent. Captain Reynolds sat rigid in his seat, his earlier ease gone, replaced by an awkward stiffness that betrayed his unease. Across from him, Dr. Maya Ellison sat gracefully, reviewing a folder of neatly arranged documents. Her calmness was disarming, almost merciful. She didn't gloat, didn't stare him down. Instead, she simply was, her quiet composure filling the space like unspoken authority. Finally, Reynolds cleared his throat. "I didn't realize who you were, ma'am." His voice was strained, a forced politeness barely covering embarrassment. Maya looked up, her eyes steady but kind. "That's all right, Captain," she said softly. "You didn't need to. Respect shouldn't depend on recognition." Her words landed with a weight he couldn't deflect. As the plane climbed through layers of white cloud, she began speaking about FAA leadership directives and upcoming compliance audits, terms and projects that only someone high within the agency could discuss. That's when he saw it, the silver badge glinting in the cabin light. Dr. Maya Ellison, Deputy Administrator, Federal Aviation Administration. His stomach dropped. The passenger he ignored was now his superior. The jet touched down smoothly on the sunlit runway, tires whispering against the asphalt. As the engines quieted, Captain Reynolds unbuckled his harness, his palms faintly damp. He stole a glance at Dr. Maya Ellison, who sat poised and unhurried, gathering her papers with the same calm precision she had shown all flight. When the cabin door opened, warm afternoon air swept in, carrying the hum of the tarmac and the faint scent of kerosene. A group of officials stood waiting below, their suits pressed, their expressions expectant. At their center was the regional FAA director, smiling broadly. "Captain Reynolds," he said, extending a hand, "I'd like to introduce you to your new direct supervisor, Dr. Maya Ellison. She'll be overseeing all flight operations for this division." For a heartbeat, time stalled. Reynolds felt the world tilt, the sound of engines fading into disbelief. The woman he'd dismissed as an inconvenience now stood before him as his commanding officer. Maya's eyes met his. No anger, no triumph, only quiet resolve. She extended her hand and said gently, "Let's make sure we all fly with a little more respect from now on." Her tone was soft, but the message landed with precision. Graceful, unforgettable justice. The sun was beginning its slow descent, washing the runway in shades of amber and gold. The day's bustle had softened into a quiet hum. Distant engines, the echo of footsteps, the rhythm of wind brushing against metal wings. Dr. Maya Ellison stood by the observation window, her reflection merging with the fading light. She watched a plane rise into the orange sky, its silhouette cutting through the horizon, steady, sure, unwavering. A faint smile touched her lips. The events of the day lingered in her mind, not as anger, but as affirmation. People reveal themselves not through grand gestures, she thought, but through the smallest choices, whether a word, a glance, a moment of respect or disregard. Her voice, barely above a whisper, carried the weight of wisdom born from experience. Titles change, ranks shift, but kindness, that's the only altitude that truly matters. The last rays of sunlight framed her in quiet brilliance, her silhouette calm and resolute, the image of a woman who had risen above judgment, not by force but by grace. As darkness gathered and runway lights flickered on, Maya turned away, her steps steady, her dignity untouchable, her legacy already taking flight. Never judge people by what they appear to be. You never know who they truly are, or what battles they've already won. Respect should always take off before the plane does.